Let's talk about we talk about school and stuff like that. Let's talk about this teacher-student relationships. Now, I'm not for them, right? Because I mean, teachers are obviously
David,
majority.
why have you changed your opinion?
Maybe you're not
we were
for
off the air.
But let me say,
Maybe you're not for them now.
I feel like the recent wave involves 22-year-old young women who are relatively attractive and students, and I'm just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, but hold on. In every single one of those,
Oh
women,
wait a minute.
when
That
you look
super
at them,
famous one, that super famous lady just died.
she did.
She just died. Well, go ahead.
In every single one of those, okay,
Was
there's
it COVID related?
No, it wasn't. She was just Mary Kay Letourneau. That was her name.
I was smashed.
In every single one of these cases, there's an instant insanity test that you can do, and it's simply this: zoom in on the photo, and can you see the entire white around their pupil, right? Just can you see the entire this right here, right? This is the instant insanity test. Can I see the white around her pupil? Yes. Should I back away? Absolutely.
I think that the whole insanity thing. What are we talking about here? That this 22-year-old woman would sleep with a 14 or 15 or 13-year-old boy?
No,
is insanity. I don't know.
That's not the insane part. That's not the insane part. The insane part is around the expectations.
Expectations. Any expectations are absurd, right? Not from the kid's perspective, right? Because he has no idea what's going on. But from the teacher's perspective, that this is going to remain secret, or they're going to be able to actually turn this into something, that is insane. But like this young virile boy, I can imagine that his body's calling, and you know, I'm not.
You sound like R. Kelly, bro. Hold on a second. You need to walk that
He
back.
literally used an R. Kelly
Wait, what?
song title. Your body.
There was no reference there. That was a coincidence.
There are no coincidences.
I don't know.
If we rewind this podcast, you started
literally
with R.
opened
Kelly
up
song names.
His song titles.
No, titles are not as plural. No, I'm just saying. I can imagine, from that perspective, it's not insane, but I don't know. But like, there are a couple of teachers, shout out, that when I was 12 or 13, I imagined I would have liked having sex with. In retrospect, probably not. I mean, I would have been scared and wouldn't have known what to do. But I guess she might have taught me.
Molested is the word, permanently damaged is I think the word you were reaching for.
Right?
The common denominator is you got these women who can't function, and there's an analog for men here, right? There's men who can't function in a normal clubs type setting, right? Mm-hmm.
Let's hit the strip club.
Let's hit the strip.
These hoes too stuck up.
They want me to use words when I communicate with them.
What? I can't just grab your ass.
I'm supposed to ask you your name in a not creepy way. Hey girl, what's your name?
Through the roof.
I can't grab your wrist and hold you hostage while I quiz you on your life. So these teachers, right? They all have to be fundamentally flawed. But there is definitely this one directional leeway that's given, right? Like the news media won't interview men that have done this same horrible act. Like we used to have a speech teacher that married one of his students.
Who? Mr. Sanders.
Mr. Sanders.
Boom. He was at Thornton. He was the coach of.
How old was the student?
She was 18 when they got married.
But obviously,
they waited until she turned 18. Right?
He was smashing.
We don't know. I don't want to slander him.
I'm definitely going to slander him. I'm going to make assumptions, and I'm not saying it's true, so it's not slander, right? I'm not saying that I know it's true, but I'm assuming that he was smashing before she was 8. Actually, the legal age for sexual consent in the state of Illinois is 17.
Right. So okay. Sounds like he was well within his rights.
I think he was smashing before that too.
He like unethical.
He definitely statting this shit.
So when it happens in the other direction, right? The man number one is reviled. He gets thrown underneath the prison.
Yeah.
The key gets thrown
South
away.
Park, they did a great episode about this. If you haven't seen it, go ahead.
Good Lord, right? The The ideas about his motivation, right? None of his excuses hold water. But she showed me an idea. It just happened to be fake, right? She had cellulite. How could a 17-year-old have cellulite? It doesn't make sense. All of his excuses get thrown underneath the mud. He gets locked in jail. And next time you see him, he's either committed suicide, he's got a sex tape out, or he, or someone finds him at a carnival and Instagrams him. Something.
Look, I'm not so quick to paint this rapist as a victim. I mean, because historically, rapists aren't. That's not what happens to rapists.
No.
What
I'm not saying that it's unfair. I'm saying that the dichotomy is that when women do it, they get the benefit of the doubt. They asked him what happened.
Right.
Men don't. They're like, so what happened? Why did you do this? Right? Because it doesn't make sense. Nothing about it makes sense. But when the men do it, it makes perfect sense. This dude is a creep.
It doesn't make sense in the context of you want your woman to be pure and you want her to be a virgin and you want her to, follow societal norms and shit like that. But from just a purely biological perspective, this young motherfucker is kicking out pheromones. And this old bitch right here, who's not really that old, she's smelling them fucking pheromones. And her pussy getting wet, and she want to fuck.
But it's more than likely a dysfunction. It's something wrong with her than it's something right with him.
Possibly.
I don't. Okay, so I think it's a social mores. If we were living in the jungle, as soon as your pussy gets wet and your dick gets hard,
bleeding.
You start fucking.
Yes.
We're like, no, wait till you're 18. So I'm not saying to defile a young person. That's wrong, right? Somebody who's not mentally aware, who's not mentally developed at this point in society, leave them the fuck alone. There's millions of grown-ass women in the world.
But they can't manage out there, and that's why they do what they do. That's why they do what they do.
They need an easier setup.
They need a easier situation to control.
That's why R. Kelly got all them bitches, because they aunties and they mamas was telling them, get you a man with money. And they stumbled across R. Kelly, and they was like,
I met R. Kelly twice.
Or he was just pulling up in front of high schools
with the car.
in motherfucking
well, based on the stories, again
I've met R. Kelly
based on
twice.
the stories, he was just pulling up in front of high schools in whips.
Yes, but they were also being dropped off by parental figures as well.
Which is
a very selective.
Awful. No, every single one that he had locked up was dropped off.
That he didn't have anybody locked up.
Right. That is
now you making stuff up.
That is a selective sliver of the R. Kelly stories. People act like people in this conversation are acting like the R. Kelly rumors began when the R. Kelly accusations began. But the R. Kelly stories began long before there were R. Kelly accusations.
Yeah.
We were all children at the time we first heard about R. Kelly.
yeah, my sister was invited to his house. She didn't go, but her
I
friends
have a
did.
cousin.
The big issue is, that he married Aaliyah and shit. Obviously, this.
When she was how
The
old?
big issue. What do you mean by the
The big issue. I think the big issue is him pissing on that 14-year-old.
I mean, you coming off real pro R. Kelly.
Hey, speaking of pro R. Kelly, I thought about creating a documentary, right? And now we can find these people, right? And the name of the documentary is The Other Side of R. Kelly. So it speaks to his creative genius. It speaks to the fact that a lot of these people, and I've talked to them personally, who have had creative relationships with him, he hid these things from them. He hid his other life from them.
why would he tell him?
So think about how dope that would be.
It would be bad for you.
I would do it under a pseudonym like Vladimir. What's a Jewish last name? A German first name and a Jewish last name.
What was Troy's big name in Worms? What was his name?
Horsch McGlorsch?
No.
Grinch Benny.
Grinch Benny.
Grinch Benny.
Benny. Right.
Something Makery.
Lose Makery.
Lose Makery. And I'm like, He had to explain it to me. What? I'm like, oh, okay.
Man, that's a dope game, man. There
Yeah,
should be a game like it.
Horse
or
McGlorish
a
was
new
definitely
version.
one.
Yeah.
Horse McGlorish, Loser Makery, and Grinch
But look,
Benny.
let me say this, man. Look, this what I'm saying.
Chris said he was going to write a book about Grinch Benny.
The whole teacher-student thing is just, it's crazy, right? I mean, because like Bruce is absolutely right. Like with the guy, I mean, like on the South Park episode, all the parents were up in arms, right? When they found out that there was a pedophile living on the block who had slept with a student. And when they got to the house, and this chick came out who was an attractive, South Parkian or whatever, right? All the male
like,
guys,
what?
all
Hold
the
on
male
a second.
parents. Oh no, the male parents was the ones leading the charge, right? Oh my God, this is child molestation. Oh, this is some bullshit. And they're like, wait, what happened? What's going on? Wait, you did this? And then they began to congratulate the boy. Congratulations, Now that being said, that a lot of that is just how we look at sex as it relates to men versus women, right? Like my dad,
Yeah, it's a 5.0.
my dad would not have been
I
mad
told you I wasn't.
if it was found out
Grab that can.
that I was
I like the can.
that I was having
Doing
sex.
its own thing.
However, if he had found out either one of my sisters were having sex, it would
It would have been a problem.
Yeah,
like
man.
a real fucking problem.
Bro, that's and that comes from just to put it plainly, it comes from the Abrahamic religion, right? And other religions, not just those, right? It's
general
like
patriarchy.
the woman, patriarchy. Yes, the woman is more sacred than the man, and I couldn't disagree more.
It's not even a matter of secrecy when you're talking about patriarchy. It's a matter of control, power.
But in the defense of the patriarchy
And fear.
Women-
Power and fear.
women can become pregnant, which
Right.
is unique to their gender.
Yes.
And so, like, my father's approach to my oldest sister was just shut it down, right? Like, you need to be at home after school activities. I was 3 years younger than her in school, and I had a later curfew than her my entire life.
It's not fair.
Like me and you, we used to hang out till 12. When I'd be over y'all till 12.
Playing
1 o'clock in the
basketball
morning.
till
If I came in
So we
and
couldn't
I
see
ain't
one
say
in the
morning.
nothing
Right.
happened, it wouldn't be no problem. If my sister wasn't
But
home,
you also had the window.
I did do some sneaking in, but it was a lot of times when I was just walking in the front door. They would sleep, and if they did wake up, they were like, make sure you get something to eat. It wasn't as big. It wasn't like this. My parents would have been waiting in the living room for my sister to come home.
Wow.
They would have been They wouldn't have been able to go to sleep. They would have physically been unable to go to sleep with her out of the house. And one time, this is one of the funniest stories. This is my sister in a nutshell. She's fucking hilarious. So we go to a school event and we're together, and then she wants to dip off with her boyfriend. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm gonna go over to Bruce's house. And so we go over there and play video games. The irony of it was I had so much freedom that I pretty much did what I was supposed to do, because it didn't matter. Like my curfew was technically 11 o'clock, so generally I would be home by 11. And sometimes when I got tired and I just felt like going home, I would just go home. I wasn't forced to stay out as long as possible because I got to get every bit I can, because I had all the freedom I wanted. So I went home early, and Naima hadn't arrived yet. And my father was sitting in the living room like, where's your sister? And he's quizzing me, and we had already set up some answers and shit. But she was supposed to be home by now, right?
Was she supposed to be
This
with you?
this pre-cell phone. Yeah. She was supposed to be with me. So the lie was she was with me, but she was really with her boyfriend. I knew this. But I didn't like the guy, but I didn't really worry about him. But so she came home, and I'm not sitting at the stop and steps when she came in. I'm like, they know. And they're sitting in the living room. And so they start grilling her. Where you been? What you doing? Oh, yeah, I was with David. No, David been home 2 hours. What the fuck? However long it was. What you been doing? What you doing? Blah, blah, blah. And they
No
just
cell phones, no
nothing.
no communication.
They just hitting her. And eventually, she got fed up. And I was shocked. I've never heard anybody speak to their parents like this, except like white people on TV or something like that. She said to my mother and father, it's like, where you been? She said, I don't know. What did David tell you? I was sitting at the top of the steps. I was fucking floor. Like, wait, no, you can't do that. You can't. It's not allowed. There's no way. They're gonna take that. You just said your death certificate. My father was so flustered. So flustered. He sent her to her room. And at this point, he wasn't whooping her, so that wasn't really a threat. You know, she was in high school or something like that. Right. So, but you know, it was definitely punished. She couldn't go nowhere. She got rounded. Would be restricted and shit like that. But when she said that, I was like, wow. So, here's the fucking cold irony. They still never got the true story. Right? She was just so bold. So like, fuck you. That she said, I don't know what, like, what can they possibly say? Well, this is what he said. What do you say about that? You know, they gonna say that,
right?
She just was so. I was like, this woman is fucking.
But at the same time, though, like, I know your upbringing, right? I know that the children in your house had a voice, right? And were, we all had black parents, and there's certain things you couldn't say or do. Amen. But at the same time, there was that balance. Like in my house growing up, if I said it right, they might listen to me a little bit. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
You said it right.
Right.
So, that's a good point.
So it was like, and then she saw, and her saying, what did David say, was also saying, in that same statement, she was saying, David been out. Yeah. David was out too. Right. You know what I'm saying?
And she was saying, I don't care to say it right.
It's whatever David said.
Whatever it is that he said is what I'm saying.
So let me ask you guys a question. So today's children, right? The way we grew up, right? We grew up in Harvard. We weren't all as fortunate as Dope Sweater as Kipp.
Right. This nigga has some dope ass sweaters.
This nigga from bougie ass Robins. He was some bougie ass Robins.
Kipp had some dope sweaters.
He might as well have been at Matson and shit.
Matson was unheard of, right? Manhattan Monique, that's way out. So,
I didn't even know nobody from Matson when I was growing up.
My cousins was from Matson. I knew them firsthand, man. They was living that life.
They was living that life. I've been over there.
Yep.
So
it still look nice. That's what he's saying. It is 30 years later.
So let's look at it like this, right? So we grew up relative poverty to the folks that we lived around.
Right.
We had running water and toilets.
10 minutes away.
Right. Relative, but they were rich folks that weren't doing so well in the grand scheme of things that lived 5-10 minutes away from us, right? They had things like food security, clothes security.
Well, yeah, Bruce uses that term rich very loosely.
By rich, I mean relative richness in comparison to us.
Probably like middle class versus us in like immense poverty.
The definition of middle class is making over, what is it, 40,000?
40,000 with a family of
bullshit.
two. Yeah, family of four is like $70K.
Yeah, it is what it is.
But look how wide the 1% that we're talking about. The 1% includes people who make like $400,000, all the way up to Jeff Bezos, who has $165 billion. So they're further away than we are to them. I mean, like, the middle class is way closer to the bottom end of the 1% than the bottom end of the 1% is to the top end of the 1%.
It's true.
It's not even close.
So what I'm saying is, I find that I have a problem relating to my children.
They got too much.
In the fact that their upbringing is definitely middle class, and my upbringing was, I can't understand the struggles that they go through, right? How many days of the week did you, not excluding Kipp, go through wondering where
was a rich one.
Kipp was rich.
Boom.
Not only did he have girls inquiring through his friends about him,
ridiculous,
but he had dope ass sweaters. I'm sorry,
nigga had Cosby sweaters.
And shoe.
Minus,
he's only able to recount like 3 pair. Maybe
minus the 40 years of assault.
This nigga had Cosby sweaters. That's all I'm saying.
We talking 80s Cosby's.
Right. No. 80s Cosby's was when he was at his worst in terms of victiming.
I'm talking about imaging of 80s. How he looked in the 80s, because now in the 2020s he looks bad, but it actually happened in the 70s. It's a weird thing.
It's a weird thing. It's a weird thing. Let's not bring him into that. He had dope sweaters. But But I have trouble relating to the issues that my kids have growing up, right? What would you do if you had $20?
Whoa. What year are we talking? Not that it matters. I just want to be clear.
At any point, 89 to 95. See, what would you do with $20?
Because $20 and 95 would have been weed, without fucking question. But $20 and 89 probably would have been like shakies and Friar Tucks. You see the difference?
A whole day full of fun.
Yeah. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, a whole day full of fun.
Right. $20 is a whole day full of fun. If that fun is weed,
Yep.
if that fun is arcades,
$20 is
and
opportunity, right? Now $20, $50, $100 is dad, can I?
Okay. So
Mom, can I, right?
First we have to index it. But even if after index, I understand what you're saying. You make way more money than your parents ever did, and you have fewer children. So, and by definition, you're richer.
They have more opportunity, right? Yeah. So I look at the struggles that they have, right, and I look at the weaknesses that they have, and I try and attack those weaknesses in order to make them strengths, right? Like I'll give you an example. My daughter, and I love her, was looking at every morning she gets woken up by the sun, right? Because her bedroom is eastern facing.
That's awesome, actually.
Right?
Yep.
So she gets woken up by the sun. She gonna go to bed till like 1 o'clock in the morning. She's 15, right? So the sun wakes her up. Now she has some curtains. I put up one, but I didn't put up the other by her bed. And I wanted to see how long it took for her to say, "Hey, Dad, let's put up these curtains."
This Pavlov ass nigga.
It's been 2 years. It's been 2 years.
How long would it have taken you?
Today? Immediately.
No, not today as a kid.
40 years ago, never. I would never put those blankets up. I would have slept someplace else.
Right. So what's the purpose here? What happened?
I'm trying to teach her what I know now.
Oh, okay.
So I had a conversation with her today, like, hey, how can you make your life better? I haven't put these curtains up on purpose. When do you want to put them up? And she was like, I just put on a sleep mask. Who bought you a sleep mask? She did.
I saw that.
She was like, you did when you let me have Amazon.com and your credit card number on the phone.
Boom.
My bad.
But here's the thing, though. You purposefully and intentionally put them in that situation, right? This is by definition a good thing. No, not your test. Your weird Pavlovian test. What I'm saying is the position where they
struggle.
Yes, you've taken their struggle, but that was your plan. You. I don't know if you necessarily thought about how it would turn out, and at some point you might feel some type of way about it. But the fact that you went out and you're earning this money and that you're able to provide these things from them, but not only that, you are actually doing it because you got it don't mean you got to do it, right? That you're actually doing it is because you want them to have these different types of opportunities.
So her biggest words now are my tennis serve isn't fast enough.
That's fucking awesome. You don't want to worry about whether she's gonna be able to eat or not.
It is awesome, but what weaknesses does that allow to creep in from the outside inside? Some dude is gonna come along and she's not gonna have the mental fortitude in order to fight him off.
Possibly.
Well, see, the thing about that
is, you might have greater expectations of this dude.
I understand your worries, bro. I have daughters as well, right? But what I know is your daughters, their first love of a man is you. The first man they ever loved is you. So, just my advice is just keep doing what you're doing, right?
Of course.
And to talk about the sleep mask, right, and the curtains or whatever, and
make your life better,
right?
You are the curator of your experience.
So your children deserve these things. They deserve these things, right? And I haven't achieved the financial success as all of you brothers sitting here with me today.
Kipp, still with the look at him right now. What kind of shoes are those, Kipp?
He got on some Brazilian sheep tongue.
It's only been 10 pair made.
So y'all gonna call them out. These are some Columbias.
Columbia.
Oh, good brand.
Respectable.
Good brand.
Waterproof.
Yes, sir.
The waterproof joints.
Yeah.
the
Waterproofs
single
up to
most
the ankle.
comfortable pair of shoes I've ever owned in my
Bro,
life.
Get
I
out
have
of
a pair of Columbias that are the single most comfortable pair of shoes that I've ever worn in my life.
Hold
and
on a
I'm
second,
trying to
what?
find another pair.
Hey, but look, let me
There are boots.
finish. Let me
They're
finish
slip
though.
bones. Okay, I'm sorry.
So our kids, they deserve that level of comfort. They deserve to dream and have their dreams fulfilled, right? So, like I said, I haven't achieved the Jeff Bezos status, and none of us have, but I still am able, and I'm gifted and blessed enough to allow my kids to dream and fulfill their dreams. But what you were saying was like, I was talking to Kipp about this earlier, about my daughter Rainy Red, or Satomi Thompson, as many people know her. She was talking about a song that she wanted to do. So I said, I did the same thing you did, Bruce. I said, oh, that's a great idea. Let's do it. And then towards the evening, we stopped talking about it. Well, the next morning, the first thing she said to me was, so, Dad, what's up with that song? That's when I took her seriously. So instilling that drive and determination and that consistency and the willing to dream and sacrifice and move towards your dreams, that's so important, man. So important.
You move towards your dreams, they'll move back towards you. That's the one thing I didn't learn until I was about 33.
Bruce's point is obviously valid, right? You're
Very.
growing up, you're growing up poor, and you feel like that was a part. It is a part of who you are, and so you take certain values from that, and you want to instill that. But at the same time, like, I can vividly remember growing up thinking, like, as soon as I can get out this motherfucker, I'm getting out this motherfucker, right? Because it ain't nothing but immense poverty. I'm like, I want to go. And
Your mother and father taught you that. My parents met in, where did they meet? Phoenix. My parents met in Phoenix. My dad played the organ at the Dixie
Illinois.
Square. Dixie Square Mall. My dad played the organ at the organ store. That's where he got picked up at a band. They met in Phoenix at a nightclub where he was playing with his band.
Which is now a parking lot.
Your parents knew to get a college education and to go away to college to experience some cool shit. Mine didn't, so I did.
Well, I mean, Bruce,
I
you
wish
had
I knew.
opportunities, and you had a lot of options. You just weren't really that interested in it.
Hold on a second. Let me take that back. All right, so I had a conversation with somebody you're well acquainted with at Thornton, the guidance counselor.
Yes,
You familiar?
my aunt.
Yes, your aunt is the guidance counselor.
Yes.
So every time I see her, I remind her that I have a master's degree and that she advised me not to go to college.
Yeah, okay. In her defense, and this happens a lot, but in her defense, you were a terrible student. You were a terrible student, bro.
So-
It wasn't a question whether you were smart or not. Anybody who talked to you for like 5 seconds realized that. But you were, and I'm not trying to pick on you, but you were a terrible student.
Do you know why I was a terrible student?
Because you wasn't interested in that shit. You didn't want to do it. There's a variety of
Because
reasons.
both my parents were smoking crack, bro.
No.
Hold on.
You weren't necessarily a good student at
I
part.
was a straight
Correct.
A student in from kindergarten to about 5th grade.
Okay. Me too.
You know what happened in
Bruce,
5th grade?
me
Hold
too.
on. You know what happened? I learned what crack was.
See,
Hold on.
That's not even my experience.
Let me take that back. Now, going into Thornton, do you know why I wasn't in all honors classes with Thornton?
No.
I was having a conversation with Chris about this, and this came to light. In 8th grade, our home got invaded.
Get the fuck out of here.
My dad owed some money to some people,
To the crack man.
to the lady.
Oh, no, not the crack man. It was a music thing.
It was a music thing. He took some money and he didn't do the work. He just smoked it off. So somebody
So it
came
was
in the
a
house.
crack thing.
Somebody knocked on the door, and Pops opened it and said, "Yeah, what's up? It ain't ready yet."
that's right.
They came in the house. They came in the house with a gun. They told my dad. My dad fought off 2 guys. Right, he's beating the shit out of 2 guys.
I saw it with my own eyes.
Saw it with my own eyes. We were standing right there. He said, "Tony, go get the gun." Tony went and grabbed the gun. One guy stabbed my dad in the back. I saw my dad get stabbed in the back with a knife. He grabbed the guy by the throat, lifted him up in the air, and was trying to hold the door closed at the same time. The guy got past him, took the gun from Tony, and then held us hostage. My dad told us, tell them not to kill you. The next day, we were taking tests for high school placement.
Jeez.
We missed basically the rest of the week. Pops taught us how to use a shotgun. We got a new gun pretty much the next day. It's like, this is how to use a shotgun. I want everybody to rack it. This is how you unload it. This is how you point it. This is how you shoot.
Jeez.
So,
Holy shit.
I think about the fact that
That's crazy.
if things had been different, we would have been different. But I like the place.
Yeah,
where we are
I mean,
now.
but that's
I like where we are now.
That's everybody's experience. But here's the thing, Bruce.
I could have done all that homework.
You still could have done that work.
I could have, but
Because
But
like
at the
some
same
people,
time-
some people might have reacted differently, right? Like, okay, let's think about people who perform great under pressure. And my first shout out is gonna go out to Kobe Bryant. You know, I give
Black Mama.
played for his life.
He's on trial for raping a white bitch in Colorado, right? So I mean, aside from all of the McDonald's endorsements and all that shit, right? He can literally end up in fucking jail, right? Like he can literally end up in jail. The nigga, he scored 81 points. It's like during this time, right?
Not 81.
He dropped the second highest recorded score in NBA history in a single game.
Do you think he had a conversation with his people? He was like, "Hey guys, if I'm gonna be free next season, I need to do something spectacular.
I imagine
Pass me the ball."
He looked at that motherfucking rim like that bitch's face, and he was beating that bitch ass. that's how. The only way he do that. No, but some people focus. Now, on the other hand, let's take Tiger Woods. I have no fucking idea what happened to him. Okay, the
I know
bitch
exactly
came
what
out.
happened to him.
No.
I know exactly what happened to
explain
Tiger
me. Well,
Woods.
wait, let me lay it out for
All
you.
right,
and
lay
then
it out.
explain it to me. Bitch came out. The nigga is clearly far and away number one golfer in the world, right? Back problems aside, right? He's the best golfer in the world.
That's a big aside, but go ahead.
Yeah, but obviously the back is an issue, and my man noticed. But
He
what
was
I'm saying
lifting
is,
too many weights.
But what I'm saying is, what? No. Like, why was it so closely? Why was his losing streak so closely correlated with what happened with his personal life? Right? To me, there was a mental component here.
There was
Now,
a huge
obviously-
mental component. You're absolutely
and that's
right.
all I'm saying, right? It was a mental component with Kobe as well, right? And with Kobe, he ended up, I felt like Tiger, to me. First off, I have no idea why all these white guys were mad at him, other than racism. I'm just gonna say it.
I can't believe Tiger did this.
I can't believe it.
They were talking about themselves.
that
No,
was white
they
hoes,
were jealous.
mostly white
They were
hoes, too.
jealous. No, I can see why white chicks would be mad. No, that's not who I'm talking about. No, I'm not talking about women, white women, black women, none of those women. I'm talking about old white dudes. That's who I'm talking about specifically. Old white dudes who felt like Tiger had violated some code. One of their most celebrated.
That's the dude that hated on him the most.
Who?
The guy that went on camera and on mic and hated on him the most. That was him and his wife's nanny he married.
Right.
Look, the guy. Look.
He was like, he's
Look,
black. I can't believe he was.
One of their favorite, right? Yeah, that's how he should have started. One of their favorite golfers of all times. Not necessarily a super winner, but is a reputed alcoholic and wife beater, John Daly. What the fuck? Wait, what? This is the guy you're leaning on? Wait, you don't have a problem with him, but you got a problem with Tiger for what? Being rich, young, and fucking hoes? When has that ever been a problem for old white dudes?
Racism. Yeah.
Right? And that's
Pretty straightforward. Right.
Yeah. That's the classic case of racism, right? I mean, like, name me a white guy who got caught fucking hoes and they just excoriated his ass. Oh my God. I can't believe that you're out here being rich, famous, and fucking hoes. What the fuck? I would never do that. I'd be like, are you kidding me? Like, no. The women I can understand, right? That's their thing. I don't necessarily. I don't know what I'm saying is, yeah, their outrage is justified, right? He's cheating on another woman. They're part of their clan, whatever, right? And the black women, they got their own particular thing. This nigga, right? But the old white dudes it just. I was like, there's no way. It reminds me of that Everybody Hates Chris episode. It was hilarious.
The teacher?
No, the chick, this white chick had asked him to prom or to the school dance or what. She just wanted to go to the dance and she wanted to go with Chris, whatever. And all of the students, the other students in the class would ask her like, well, "Why would you do this?" Right? And they would come up with these reasons for why she shouldn't ask him. Right? Oh, he's so stupid, or not stupid. Like, oh, he doesn't do this, he doesn't do this, he doesn't do this. And after every time they would say their answer aloud, they would show this dark side of him. It's like, he's just so black. And that was their inner thought every time, no matter what they said. Oh, he's just so he's just so black. Why? And bro, did you see that episode?
Yeah.
This Everybody Hates Chris, actually great show.
It's a great show.
One of my favorites.
Yeah.
It's a great show. If you guys, do you guys know who Patrice O'Neal is?
Yeah.
Patrice O'Neal.
I
God.
always like to bring him up.
The
Man.
God.
I don't actually like talking about him around women, but
Shout out to Black Phillip. If any guys having relationship issues, listen to the Black Phillip podcast. It's
I
timeless.
gotta give you that with a caution.
It's timeless. It's for men.
With a caution flag. bro.
He was up for the role of the father on Everybody Hates Chris.
How he doesn't?
There's a podcast out there with Patrice O'Neal, Opie and Anthony, Norton, and Chris Rock, where Chris Rock talks to Patrice O'Neal about why he didn't get the job. It was hilarious. He was like, you didn't care enough. He was like, you were the best person there, Chris Rock. He was like, but you didn't care. He was like, you didn't even say hello to me. I'm Chris Rock when I walked in the room. He was like, and the other guy who obviously got the job,
Terry Crews,
was like, hello, Mr. Rock, and sitting straight up, and Chris O'Neal was slouched over, and he didn't give a fuck.
He did, but that's huge, right? I mean,
It's
that's
huge,
a lesson,
man.
right?
Effort
is rewarded a lot of times, and
Effort is rewarded, man.
yeah, like moving forward.
Effort
If you're not ready, you
effort
can get
is
all the
rewarded.
opportunities in the world. It seems like some people get more opportunities than other people, and maybe that's true, right? But
That's absolutely true.
even with that being said, some people seem to be more successful and take advantage of opportunities more than other people, and that is more of a sign of preparedness, right? And it reminds me, it's one of my favorite Common line. Opportunity knocked, but she ain't called before she came. He didn't know she was coming.
She never does.
She knocked. He had to be ready to answer the door, or it would have been useless, right? And what's the point? And let's say a fucking $1 million, $1 billion idea comes to you, and you don't have the aptitude or intelligence or competency or whatever.
Ready. Right.
You're not ready to execute on it.
Then
What
you
does it
miss
matter?
out. Opportunity. I learned this from an old businessman. Opportunity plus instinct equals profit.
Plus preparedness.
Right.
Being ready.
Some people, and I heard what the definition of luck is. It's preparedness over time.
Over a long enough time, luck happens.
Yeah.
And if you're prepared, you can take advantage of it.
You can take advantage
And
of
it looks
it.
like, oh, he was lucky. Yeah, he was lucky. He had studied for 10 years how to do this shit, and then the shit came his way. He's an overnight success.
For sure.
Oh yeah, not counting the 30 years he put in practicing this shit. Other than that, yeah, pretty much.
Overnight, he was a success.
Overnight, right? You know, and it reminds
They
me
don't
of
tell
that.
you how many times you failed.
How many times you fail, that analogy of an iceberg, right? You see the tip of the iceberg, and that's why it's a phrase, the tip of the iceberg. Turns out, almost all of the iceberg is underwater. Almost all of it. If you see a huge iceberg, that means it's massive underwater. And, being ready to take advantage of opportunity. All right, we lost our host, but we got a couple more topics we want to
Business
talk about.
op, credit anybody who has bad credit right now. Understand that it is the most important component of your financial future. Even people who think they have bad credit, it can get better. I'm the first to admit I had bad credit when I bought my first house, and it cost me money for over 10 years. I was treated worse than a renter by my bank for over 10 years until I got into a position where I could flip the situation by paying down the mortgage that I owed. Then I was able to refinance, get a house for cheaper than rent could ever possibly be, and then move to a better house out of a neighborhood where shootings weren't a regular thing and people weren't dying on my front yard.
That actually happened.
That actually happened. Credit.
In a neighborhood where that wasn't the thing, though.
Richmond Park.
Yeah.
It was on the rise.
Yeah, it was.
We had
you
had a
were right there
murder
on the
in front of
cutting edge.
AutoZone. We were right across the street from Park Forest. Park Forest is a completely different place. Your boy didn't. He was a 20-year-old man who died right on top of my water cutoff valve. I imagine his spirit is still haunting that front yard to this day. He didn't deserve. He deserved what he got, but he, as just as a human, I wish he would have had longer. But he did something and he caused his own death.
Maybe.
Trying to be righteous. Nah, he walked in another guy's house with a hammer.
Oh yeah, no, that happens. Yeah.
And the guy told him not to come in here, and he shot him 7 times, and he made it a half a block before the spirit left his body. Now he's walking around like Ghost Dad.
Well,
Just doing weird shit.
Credit is an important aspect of finance.
Right? How do we get off credit? Absolutely.
No, it's an important aspect of finance. No matter how bad your score is right now, you can improve it. There are services that you can pay for it. It's a lot of that, all that shit you can do yourself. It's just a matter of getting it done. Whether you pay for it, do it yourself, get it done.
Right. Pay your bills on time.
Pay your bills on time. First step.
Second step is go to your local credit union. They will give you an account. They will give
I
you a
love
credit
credit
builder loan.
It's all about credit unions.
I got like an 800 credit score now. How did I get there? I got a credit builder loan from my local credit union. They hooked me up. When my credit was in the 500s, they took me to the 6s.
Yeah, it's a great thing. The basics behind a credit builder loan is you take out a loan and you deposit money into a CD for the exact same amount, so that it's 100% secured. The bank doesn't stand to lose any money because they already have the principal. You earn money interest on the CD, you pay interest on the loan, you make the payments, and they show it on your credit report as a installment payment. Yep. And so there's no risk for the bank. The what you quote unquote lose is you pay money into this loan. However, you do have a CD, so at the end of it, you end up with with some money. You actually end up with savings. So that's the really cool thing about it.
Absolutely. So you borrow 100, 1,000, 2,000, or 3,000. It costs you about $100 per thousand in order to build your credit. It's legit. Your credit goes up tremendously. It goes up in an expedient way. The other thing that you can do to build your credit is to find a rich friend and have them add you as an authorized person on their credit card. You don't get a credit card from them, but you get part of their credit history. My kids are both authorized.
You want it right now?
My kids are both My kids are both authorized members of my credit card, and now they have my credit history.
Yep, that's awesome. You're starting on the right road.
Nobody could do this for me.
Plug it in, plug it in.
Nobody did this for me because I didn't have anybody to do this for me.
They couldn't.
But now I got it, and now I can give it. Right? You can't teach what you don't know. You can't pass on what you don't have.
Right. You can't give what you can't fucking have, what you don't have.
Right? So right, my mom knew how to pay every single bill whenever every single bill came in. She didn't know how to budget for every single bill next month.
Cash.
What happened? What's on it? Do?
Check the check.
He said David the only one in his underwear.
David, you nasty.
This nigga got on some swimming shorts.
Hey, David.
What up?
Mr. Kruger would be proud.
Yeah, he would.
Mr. Ingerman. Mr. Ingerman, that's his name.
That was my high school.
My name is Mr. Ingerman.
High school swim coach.
Hey, let me tell you a story about Mr. Ingerman. I used to work with a guy. His name was Murph at the University of Chicago. He's since retired. He was in his 60s. We were at lunch one day I was talking about Thornton, how about I used to have a creepy teacher that used to make us take off our shorts to shower, right?
Oh, man.
We had a Speedos on. He was like, Thompson, take off those shorts. Like, hey man, how you know I got my shorts on?
Why are you looking at me?
Why you supervising these showers, bro?
This shit is just wrong.
So Mr. Ingerman had in his office there was a window that he could watch into the showers, right, to make sure our speedos were off.
Yeah.
The way you make it sound.
Yeah.
The way I make it sound is just like it was.
I'm not really sure how many more ways that you can interpret that.
The fact that you were looking for a different explanation for what he was doing.
David thought it was
Swim
normal.
team.
Sandusky.
Oh, man, that shit's
Hold on, not to
funny.
mention David was in
not
the
funny,
same swimming class, and that was his coach for swimming.
That nigga was on the swim team. He thought he was super normal. He taught him the ways.
So I was talking to this dude Murph. He's in his 60s. He was talking about how he had to swim naked at Thornton in the 1960s when he was there.
Wow.
All the boys swam naked together. So I was like, that's gross, man. Who was your coach? We looked it up online. Guess who his coach was?
Mr. Ingerman.
Mr. Ingerman.
He couldn't have possibly been that old.
He was that old.
He would have had to be.
He was there in the late 60s,
So
70s,
he was
30
and in the
60-something.
90s.
30 years
He was
later.
60-something. Yep. It was right.
He was been 30. Yep.
He was 60-something.
Mr. Ingerman has been
Mr.
watching
Motherfucking Ingerman.
watching young men swim
Since the
naked
civil rights movement.
Wait, since Thornton was white.
since Dr.
Yeah.
King was alive.
Yep.
Thornton was white at that time.
Harvey was
This
bustling.
was a white dude, right?
His
is the white dude
predilection, Mr. Ingerman. No, this was a black dude.
Oh, so Thornton was already black.
Hey, yo, so we got two more subjects, right?
Mr. Ingerman's predilection
We got-
changed.
George Floyd and Juneteenth, right? So
We
I'm
got
going to start
reparations.
off.
We got reparations.
Oh, and reparations. I
How
missed
how
that
many
one.
people didn't know what Juneteenth was before it was recently brought up?
What's that, Tom?
Me.
I knew what it was. I heard about it.
Yeah, so so Juneteenth. A lot of people didn't know. I didn't know until a few years ago. It's a celebration of Texas finally adhering to the laws of the Emancipation Proclamation, right? Which happened in what?
It's ridiculous.
18.
I want to say
68?
68. I wanna
Yeah.
say 68, but
1868, which
Whatever
the
it was,
Emancipation
it was 2 years
Proclamation
later.
was. Yeah, the Emancipation Proclamation was 1865. So a little or a lot over 2 years, between 2 and 3 years later, was Juneteenth, and it was when Texas said, "All right, niggas, y'all free." So why do we celebrate that,
they were
man?
forced at this point. The army had literally marched in this direction, and they came into town like, wait. I don't know if they were like, wait. I you know what I imagine? This large group of white guys, because at this point the black conscripts had been let go. I mean, there was no longer like a wartime. This large group of white guys coming in, carrying out the edict of their general. But not necessarily like, oh, we're so happy for the black people, but like, no, it's just how it is now. Follow the rules. And oh, we're sorry. And I would imagine even apologetically. Like, they didn't come in like destroying the garrison. Like, you still holding slaves? Well, we're still fighting you. It was more like, look, guys. It turns out, these guys were free, like 2 years ago. What it doesn't tell, and this is apparent. This is the legend is, or I don't know if it's true or not, but this is the last group of slaves to find out, right? So,
I think that was Mississippi, but go ahead.
well, what you have to imagine is that as they're marching from somewhere in the East Coast to Texas, there's a liberation movement that's actually happening. They're actually, I would imagine there are plenty of places along this route that hadn't accepted it, or even in their defense, they might not even have heard about it. Everybody thinks Twitter, Google, that's not a real thing. Like everybody here remembers pre-Google.
Yep,
Everybody fucking here remembers pre-Google.
pre-cell phone.
Yeah, pre-cell phone, when cell phone was prevalent. Yeah.
I think I think we talk about Juneteenth outside of the context of the 13th Amendment. It distorts the story a little bit, right? Because they in Juneteenth they didn't hear about it because the news had gotten to them. The 13th Amendment, which happened a year and a half, 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation, is what freed them.
Right.
Is
Before
what
that,
made
it
them
was simply an
citizens.
executive order.
Right.
The Emancipation Proclamation was just an executive order. So a president saying this is the law of the land, but that clearly needed an amendment.
Right. So there were several states that were still holding slaves in the South. I believe Mississippi was the last state to free slaves. They were waiting for like the actual enactment after the signing of the 13th Amendment.
Right. Waiting for somebody to force their hand.
Right. For it to go into law.
Right.
Yeah, even after losing the war, they're like that wasn't enough. And but the
There was some states in the North.
no, that's what I was about to say.
I feel like Rhode Island is on that list.
In my mind, Missouri's on that list. I mean, they never actually had to give up their
That's the
slaves.
South.
Yeah, the Missouri is weird because it is actually fucking. They oh my god, Kentucky and Missouri are some of the two most southern states in America.
Hey, we just watched that
And they are
video.
just on the wee other side of the basic Dixon line.
Yo,
but I think they got to prove themselves.
West Virginia. Do you count that as South? It's kind of South, but it's mostly just East.
You know what? West Virginia has this image of being like this inbred, white, anti-black thing. But West Virginia formed because they revolted, essentially didn't agree with the rest of Virginia over slavery. They have this
I
image.
never knew that.
But Virginia and West Virginia used to just be Virginia.
I never knew that.
West Virginia
That makes
split.
sense, though.
And Virginia was the hub of that's another thing. Virginia is one of the most
Newport.
southern states in the country. And it is north as fuck. But
Right.
But that
Right.
being said, the country was structured differently, right? Right there were fewer colonies. The way we look at the 50 states, it didn't exist. This is what? Now this would have been post Louisiana Purchase, but well, what are we talking about? This is not 1860. Okay, that's another note. But anywho, yeah, Virginia is fucking south as fuck. They are the fucking.
You're right. That's right. They're South as fuck in the sense that we think that slavery is a Southern thing, but it wasn't necessarily just a Southern thing. And right, Virginia is Eastern Seaboard on today's map,
Right. It was a colony. It was original.
and right now on today's map, I don't know that it necessarily counts as the South. It's the Eastern Seaboard.
Oh, not on today's map, but Virginia, as a haven for tobacco plantations, it was the South. It was the
So, as a mentality, Virginia is definitely the South. When you're thinking about the mentality of the people.
Yeah, it's
Right?
Virginia.
Geographically.
The point that I'm making is it fair to consider that a Southern mentality?
Okay.
You talking about the disdain for black people or the
slavery, plantation. What was that? One of the states just recently changed their name. I feel like it was Rhode Island. Let me check it out. I don't know why I keep shitting on Rhode Island. It's like the fourth time I done shitted on them.
Man, I've been to Rhode Island, man.
They white as hell.
I was standing at a bus stop in Rhode Island waiting for a cab. And the bus driver looked at me and said, I don't remember exactly what he said, but it basically said, "You're not from around here, are you?" Because I was standing in the wrong place.
And you were black.
And I was black.
Okay.
That's when I realized no other black people were around me.
So Rhode Island recently, and when I say recently,
And I'm light-skinned.
I am talking within the last month, just changed their name from the state of Rhode Island and Providence Plantations. Like in June. after George Floyd, right?
Wow.
Right. So
Well, I mean, Rhode Island was an original, though. I mean, they were
Wow.
once you start talking about the
Virginia
original,
was the original.
Virginia,
But that's what I'm saying.
right?
It,
Rhode Island.
I'm not sure that it's fair to consider this sort of pro-slavery push as a Southern thing.
Well, I mean, we would have to go down the lines that on where people split on the Civil War. If you assume, I mean, not assume, but if you give the fact that this was a fight over slavery,
Which it was.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, that's an argument, right? That split, Rhode Island ended up in the North, as I understand it, right? In the Union, shall we say, versus the Confederacy. I
Okay.
think those
Right.
lines are literally battle
Right.
lines.
Yes, they are.
But the question is, when did they give up their slaves?
Well, that was the thing, right? Because the Emancipation Proclamation didn't give up slaves north of the Mason-Dixon, right?
Or the wealth earned from slaves. Either.
No, that's the real
never
key.
happened.
That's never going to happen.
No.
And that actually rolls right into reparations, but
Right, and I don't know that I agree that it's never going to happen, but it's never happened to this day.
Not to this very
I
day.
don't, you know what? I was watching, and I was talking with Kipp about this, but I was watching this very compelling show that I would recommend for everybody. The Watchmen, the TV show. Fucking,
Yeah.
oh, it's intense though.
Is it good?
It seems like they
I haven't
made
watched
it in relation to George Floyd, but it was made well before that. It just happened to coincide with it. But George
There's no
Floyd,
season 2, right?
not yet.
Yeah.
But
I don't know
George-
that season 2 is coming.
Yeah, I don't think
George
it's coming.
Floyd was just a spark point, but the reparations thing, I don't necessarily. The issue with reparations is an issue. The way they dealt with it on Watchmen was they had very good ancestry DNA testing, and you had to submit your DNA, and they were able to test it and determine whether you were the descendant of an actual. Well, the reparations they were paying was for if you were actual descendant from the Black Wall Street massacre. That's what they were paying reparations for. So it was Tulsa specifically paying the reparations. It wasn't a national thing, but the DNA testing would be very important. But the question is what do you phase down if it turns out you had one ancestor that was a slave, or do you phase up, or is it either yes or no? Because what we'll find is that there are quite a few people that we would definitely consider white that possibly has some ancestry African post-slavery ancestry. At which point would you be comfortable with giving somebody who looked white as fuck reparations because they have the same percentage of ancestry that was slaves as someone who clearly looks black or at least dark mixed, right? What would you do? You like, nah, we gotta give them the paper bag test. You know, if you only got one ancestor, and you don't
Right,
want the paper bag test.
How much cotton did you pick? Were you a good slave?
Right.
How much money did you generate?
Right.
Like, how are we going to get into all of that? How specific are we going to be?
How many generations, right? 'Cause
How many generations?
Not all
Yeah.
black people in America are actually descended from slaves. That's the common assumption. But the reason that's the common assumption is because the basic assumption is that all blacks were slaves, right? But that's not necessarily the case, right?
Just
There
most.
were black immigrants that post this, not as many as white immigrants, obviously, because they just weren't allowed. But
Just
there were
most.
black immigrants. There were
All
also
blacks could be slaves.
all blacks could be slaves during slavery, right? And, well, essentially, yeah, you were. And then there were people who just never really were a part of the Southern culture, right? Their ancestry might run all the way back, but they were a part of the North or Canadian, and they're Americans as of now, but they were never really black slaves, right? And so, how do you say that?
Indigenous.
Huh?
Or indigenous.
Or indigenous?
I think.
Right, just
what-
right.
Oh wait, if we're gonna talk about indigenous, we need to bring up that fucking Oklahoma judgment.
That was huge.
Oh my god!
I think-
they determined like half the state was indigenous.
Let's get into the Oklahoma thing, right?
Before we
Yeah.
get into that though.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to get in there. I just have to.
Well, what about have y'all seen what happened
Get a little closer. There
in
you go.
Asheville, North Carolina?
Yeah, they're
No.
paying out reparations.
Yeah.
To who?
interesting. They have an interesting concept. You got the story on it, Kipp?
Yeah. So Asheville has decided that they will provide reparations. They have not decided what those reparations will be.
There's been a suggestion. I thought that's what they were saying, but there's been a suggestion. It's going to be in the form of assistance for business ownership,
And investment in the community.
Investment in the community, loans and things like that, which is an interesting take, right? Like, are we talking, when we talk reparations, are we talking about direct cash payments? Like, are we talking like Dave Chappelle, right? Where KFC and Cadillac end up merging and becoming the largest company of all time?
That's what Bob Johnson said.
Yeah. You know, I mean,
His math came out to $350 a head.
350,000.
That's fair. Now,
what was the total number?
okay,
I
now,
Trillions.
but that being said, right? So the black man who was technically a slave,
couple decades.
who was beating the other slaves, and was the right hand man to the master, do his descendants get reparations as well?
I think he was just
Hell
as
yeah, he was
disabused
underpaid.
as the
He's underpaid.
So
was
should he
just-
get less? How do we do this math?
How do we do the math? How do you filter the math down through generations, right?
Right.
Because this is what this is the interesting part about America, right? The dirty little secret, right? Technically, I would have bet you that my ancestors have been here longer than the average white ancestors, right?
Yeah.
And the reason I can comfortably say that is because immigration was not allowed in general for black people, right? So if I am a descendant of slaves, they have been here since forever. Now, whether tracing that back is another issue, right? But they've been here, and at some point,
And if you're not the descendant of slaves, that means that your ancestors were here even longer.
So
yeah, possibly, yeah.
So at
If I'm
fi-
a fucking
at 50 million black folks, $350,000 per person is $19 trillion.
that's an economy, yeah.
That's fair.
But yeah,
That's fair.
but here's the thing, right? That's the whole thing. That 50 million black people is not homogeneous at all, right? Like Obama isn't even a part of that group, right? I mean, like
but Michelle is.
Michelle, absolutely, without question, her blackness is unquestionable. But what I'm saying is that how do you filter it down? What if I have 10 generations, right? If I were white, that would matter, right? Oh, he's been here. Bush's family can literally trace his ancestry to the Mayflower.
we don't have that luxury.
But even if we were able to, right? Let's say we were able to, and we were able to filter out people who had 10 generations versus 5 generations versus 20 generations. Are you gonna pay a premium to them? I mean, like
Who
if
gets
my
paid
ancestors
more,
have
right?
been
Who gets
here,
more?
because technically that means that I've had more slaves in my history.
But a lot of that history is cut off, right? We can make some guesses via DNA, but
And
a lot
does
of that,
any of Thomas and Jefferson's kids get anything?
a lot of that.
A lot of them are doing all right.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking you.
But
right?
he
Like,
was with the 14-year-old slave, right?
well, the age, you throw the age out there to make it sound weird, but it was a while ago.
Hold on a second. I throw the age out there to make it sound weird.
Here we go. Robbie.
He's back.
Right. Same thing with R. Kelly, right?
Kills.
What I mean was, it was definitely a different time. We're not talking about 1992.
Hold on,
We're
a
talking about
different time.
No.
1876.
So it's okay to rape an 18-year-old. Basically, is what you said.
Damn, David.
No.
Damn,
Okay.
B.
If we're talking about life expectancies of 50 and 60, a 14-year-old is fully grown person.
Okay, all right.
That's all I mean.
All right.
Okay.
Anyway, y'all trying to
All right. Life expectancy is 50, right?
yeah, maybe, right?
So you're middle aged.
Yeah. You're fucking 14 year. I mean, look. Okay. Anyway,
Not only was
that's not
Sally
the point.
Hemings 14, but she was also his wife's half sister, who was a slave.
Look, the dude was in the black pussy, clearly, right? And a lot of these guys
definitely in the black pussy.
They weren't really.
I'm gonna
They
start calling Troy
obviously
Thomas
because they never
Jefferson.
married anything. Look, but you know what? The reality of the situation is, some of these crackers fell in love with these hoes, man. Like they literally. I can definitely see this dude secretly just
I
falling
think
over
he
some bitch.
fell in love
Yeah,
with Sally
falling,
Hemings.
like genuinely falling in love with this hoe,
weird.
and being able to do nothing about it simply because there's absolutely no way he could legally ever make it happen, and societally never make it happen, and secretly he's treating this bitch like a princess, and his wife know about that
But
shit.
publicly, he's raping her.
Well, not necessarily publicly.
Reality
he
basically.
publicly owns her. Yeah.
Right. I mean,
Reality-
that doesn't make it less rape.
No. Let's be clear. Let's be clear. I don't know. I think we're misconstruing what I'm saying.
Right. He's human and still his property.
Again. No. What I'm saying is that aside from all of that, men have an ability to feel a certain way, regardless of whether or not
It's legal or not.
Yeah, whether it's legal or not, whether it's morally acceptable, whatever, right?
Good
you
Lord.
can still feel a certain way, even if you are this guy, this slave owner who owns 1,000 slaves. You could. There is the real possibility you could genuinely fall in love with the slave, which would be, I would imagine, a terrible situation.
So it's
or a great situation.
I've
right?
seen many movies
Debatable.
about
I
this.
don't know. I don't know why that has come up.
Yeah.
I've seen many movies about this, and I've had my fill of historically accurate slave films because of the horror that they depict. Right. I think the last one I gave up on all of them after
12 years.
Now 12 Years a Slave was traumatic for me. I tried to read the book. I got to page 90, and then I realized it was actually a true story.
A true fucking story.
True story, right? The ending of 12 Years a Slave just destroyed me completely. He apologized. I apologize.
Like Nick Cannon
for
did.
I apologize. Well, he said I profoundly apologize
Subjects.
for being held captive for 12 years and missing y'all lives. He said, I'm so sorry. This is all my fault. He apologized for everything. The movie I saw was with they had the bidding war for the movie. It was about the slave revolt. Nate Turner.
Nat.
Well, they
Turner.
redid it. Birth of a Nation.
Birth of a Nation.
Well, they redid it.
Right.
Because
I was
obviously, Birth
done
of a
after
Nation
that.
is the story of the Ku Klux Klan.
It
Right.
was.
The irony
We tried to retake
is amazing,
that.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they retake that.
We tried to retake that name.
I like how
I
you
watched
did
that. Me and the wife saw it at the theater, and I swore I was done. I just couldn't do it anymore. It was just,
Man,
the experience was so horrific.
But did you see Django though?
Django was dope.
The
I just
Django,
watched that
the
again.
D is silent.
I watched that again the other day. It was a perfect movie.
The thing about slavery stories, okay, if I'm being honest, if
Okay.
I'm being completely honest, I would agree, right? I still haven't seen Birth of a Nation.
I haven't seen Birth or 12.
I haven't seen
It was
12
rough.
either, right?
12. I
I'm
don't
not
recommend
the
under
audience.
any circumstance, but I have to recommend it under every circumstance. You need to watch it so you can never watch it again.
But to that point though, we're talking what? Close to 300 years of stories,
Yeah.
right? There's
Yeah.
if you just look at it in from that paradigm, right? Is 300 years of stories.
Horror. Yep.
They don't all have to be horror. There are 300 years of stories.
Right.
There is this backdrop of horror,
Right.
right? That is just going to exist,
Up and down. Yeah.
right? Even if you're talking about, even if it was a movie about white people during that time, that backdrop is still there. But we're talking about these unlimited number of stories that could exist, that could be true, with this horrible backdrop, but also could be dope. Again, I feel a little bit like a hypocrite saying this, given the fact that I haven't seen 12 Years or I haven't seen Birth of a Nation. So I'm probably not the best audience to go after for slave time movies, but they don't have to be the same. We don't have to just sort of write them off as the same type of movie, right? And they can be, to your point, historically accurate. They can be historically accurate and extremely diverse.
So
Simply
Birth,
because there's 300 years. There's been some type of programming for us
right.
to look at the lives of enslaved peoples through a particular lens. Right? There's room to broaden that particular horizon.
So you haven't seen Birth of a Nation. Imagine Tyler Perry presents Under Siege.
That's hilarious.
Right. Now put a bad ending on it, and you've got Birth of a Nation. Steven Seagal gets killed at the end of Under Siege.
Throw in a little Passion of the Christ.
This is my take. This is my take on let's call it the slave genre. For me, when I think of the slave movie genre, I think of Roots. Roots is
The
for
definitive.
me, the definitive story. It was we know it was Alex Haley. It was his research on his family. This is supposedly a historical document. Obviously, it's a work of fiction, but
Right,
it is based in like reality, right? The thing about it is like growing up, that was a family event. When Roots came on TV, we would sit down, we would watch it. It was a week-long miniseries. We would see the whole thing.
Watched it at school as well.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I watched it at school.
I did, third grade.
But we would
What's
watch
that?
it. So we watch it every
Roots.
year. We would watch it every year. And
Yes.
I also grew up watching The Eyes on the Prize, and I watched these kind of movies and documentaries and things like that.
We didn't have anything.
What happens is that it ends up being a relatively repetitive story. It ends up involving a lot of violence, rape. It doesn't attribute any successes or like there were slaves who were inventing things. Obviously, they were.
Chicken George was successful.
Was stolen and stuff like. Chicken George was actually a successful slave, right? He was obviously kind of also a loved and hated character.
Who was the black guy that didn't want to pick cotton anymore? Invented the
Cotton gin.
the cotton gin.
Eli Whitney.
Eli Whitney. He was tired of picking cotton.
Yep. You know what I found out recently about that? I thought that was pretty much the end. As it turns out, the cotton gin was an excellent machine for separating the seed of the cotton from the cotton so they could use it. However, the cotton process was still very labor intensive. It was just a lot less.
Right.
So there were still slaves there. But what they would do is they would just cut back. It'd be like a labor.
We need less.
You know what? We
slaves,
need
right?
less slaves. And that actually, the analogy is no different than
so the cornfields
than what's happening at GM or over the last 2 decades or whatever. There are more robots. There's less workers. But the slave movie genre is it can be uncomfortable, right?
Very much.
You
so.
need to be
Should
you
be.
need to be willing to confront this. The value for it for me is in forcing this conversation. Forcing us to talk about it. And so in that sense, it's more like a learning tool more than a source of entertainment.
But who wants to learn?
Well, it reminds me of an episode of Blackish where Rainbow, the wife, the main character, I don't know why I call her the wife, but it sounds a problem. But the main character, she went to get a doll for her daughter, who was a black child, and they had 2 dolls. They had a runaway slave.
Real quick, not to cut you off. This is Eli Whitney.
Is that a white man?
He's
from
a
over
white
here?
guy.
I mean, did they make him white or did they just?
No, he's white. He's rich and white.
Hold on a second.
Cause Eli Whitney, he's fucking created. I thought he created the steam engine there.
I think he's Cotton Gin.
Oh, his slave. Him and his slave.
Yeah, he was a Cotton Gin.
Man, they can't get black people anything anymore.
Oh,
But he was white.
No.
He's a rich white guy.
He just took the credit.
He definitely did. Necessity is the mother of invention, man. Nobody had a stake in in cotton being processed faster
More efficient.
and without cut
Like,
fingers than black
This
people.
shit works. What are you talking about? I haven't cut a single finger. Nigga.
Eli Whitney, with the help of Catherine Green, both white folks.
I
thought he was
I
black.
grew up thinking that was a black.
This is a whole nother thing, man.
Oh my God!
Wow.
Revelations.
They fixed the story. That's
Revelations.
all.
History.
What we got left? We got George fucking Floyd, man.
George
Look at this,
Floyd.
man. Look, people talk about white people. When I'm saying it, white people talk about reestablishing the trust between police and black people. Let's just be clear. The police have always. The reason they exist is to protect property owners. That's why they've always existed.
Yes, that's right.
Given that black people couldn't
Yes.
own properties, or they were property themselves, meaning that the police have never actually been. They have never actually been. There's never actually been a good relationship between the police and the black community. This reestablishment idea is just absurd, right? Like,
I think that's actually, in my opinion, a little bit of a stretch to suggest that the police serve to protect property owners. I think that, well, from their existence, there's really no way to separate them from slave patrols.
Just listening.
Like, when you say protect property owners, it literally meant to retrieve the property, which were black humans.
But that being said, there would have been other reasons for the police, right? There would have been conflicts between individuals.
Their
who were both
history
white.
is not as black and white as I was the wrong phrase, but it is not as easily delineated as that. The U.S. did not always have police.
No.
And it's really hard to pinpoint a time where police existed outside of slave patrols.
Well, if I guess if you were thinking of say, for instance, a U.S. Marshal or something, who would have been the police in the Old West, they would have been there for protection of trains and transport routes. So cowboys and hijackers would have been their principal prey, the people that they were looking for. Not necessarily runaway slaves, although that would have been a part of it. And but all that being said, there has never been. Well, I grew up in a household. We grew up in households where we were educated to steer clear of the police at all, for all
At all
costs.
times.
Most
You know what I'm
definitely.
saying? You almost
Don't talk
always
to the
better
police.
someplace else than in front of the police. And I'm sure my father specifically, grew up in a household with this exact same message. And I'm 1,000% certain his father grew up in the household with the same message. If you have a run-in with the police, it's not going to be good for you. At best, nothing happens. That's
Never
the
good.
best possible scenario. Nothing happens other than them harassing you. I mean, other than you harassing you, right?
And you go about your way.
And you go about your way, but you've been harassed, right?
Right.
But
It's the best outcome.
that's the best possible outcome.
And that harassment does include beatdowns.
It does include beat downs. It does include lockups. It does include putting handcuffs on, being put in the back of the car. It does include guns being drawn on you. It does include taken to the police station
get to
and
make
then
it to the crib.
summarily
Yes,
let
Steve.
go. It does include towing your car. It does include ripping your car apart.
Yeah,
And-
been there.
and, like not putting it together. I mean, like it includes being locked, chained up outside in the freezing cold of Chicago. It includes threats. It includes illegal searches, illegal seizures. It includes so many violations of the law. And you know who showed it to me best, who made it clear for me best, from a racist as a white man's perspective. It was Bill O'Reilly. He was like, "I'm all for stopping frisk." This is what he said on his show. "I'm all for stopping frisk. That's where all the crimes are happening. Let's stop and frisk them." And you know what he said? "But this shit wouldn't fly in my neighborhood." You know what? If the focus was really looking for drug dealers and stuff like that, I can tell you where they are. Yeah, I can tell you where all the drug dealers are.
This is what Bill O'Reilly said.
No, I'm saying this is what I'm saying.
Give me the can.
Where I would start is Harvard's campus. I mean, copious amounts, and I would just move down to Ivy League. I would move over to the
Thank
Big
you,
Ten.
brother.
I've never seen I've never seen a black person do more drugs than I've seen U of I students. And I went to U of I, so I would imagine at Harvard it'd probably be even worse. But I've never seen a black person produce as many drugs as I've seen at U of I. When I was buying $10 dime bags, they were buying $120 fucking eighths of the same shit. And I'm like, first off, I can't afford it. Second off, what the fuck is that? And this was their cool down drug. I mean, they were heroin, acid, ecstasy, anything you could imagine, right? Things that I've never even tried.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? That I would go to jail for life for if I got 3 strikes on it. If you were truly looking for drug dealers, they're easy to fucking find.
Yep.
Go start on college campuses, moving, but that's not what you're looking for, right? Clearly, we can see that the spike. Look, first off, America has one of the most absurd lockup rates outside of any non government.
You talking about
military
minorities or African Americans or just
Period.
prison number,
they're locked
sheer
up.
numbers?
Just
of
the sheer
people.
numbers.
China's number one. We're
The
number
volume
two. Yeah.
and the percentage is absurd, right? It's absurd, right? And then on top of that, you look at the percentage that's made up of black and brown brothers, and you're like, damn. And then you look at correlation. I'm gonna call it out. Correlation. The correlation between the abolition of slavery and the increase in incarceration rates of these exact same people who could legally be rented out. Prisoner rent out ended in like the 60s. It was like one state.
What do you mean prisoner rent out? Renting out prisoners to corporations?
Yes.
Well, it's still
They
going
still
on
do
now.
it.
They still do it
To
now.
a certain extent.
Now
We're-
it's-
we're talking like
Call centers.
No. We're talking like diamond mine, not diamond mines. Like we're talking like coal mining. We're talking like things that nobody else wanted to do. So we'll rent this slave. I called him a slave. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to call him a slave. This prisoner out, and we'll make all the profits from it.
But now it's call centers, and they pay them something like 5 cents an hour.
Okay.
Now it's
But you know what? To be frank with you, I
not
don't
just
think
call
it's the same
centers, not just call centers, but also digging ditches, also hard labor, also roofing.
No, they still do. I understand that.
Still do it.
But
You go down to Mississippi, that's
To
a
this
commonplace. You don't even get air conditioning.
yeah.
Go
But-
to Arizona in prison.
This is
Judge
what I don't get.
Arpaio. No air conditioning.
why do black people still live in Mississippi? Can somebody give me an answer to that? Like
Because
Born
they don't
and
know any
bred.
better.
born and bred.
Born
I
and
understand
bred.
it.
They don't know any better.
But so many of them moved. Like so many.
Okay, let's look at it like this.
Exact same population moved.
Let's look at it like this.
Next door neighbors.
How many people do you know that still live in Harvey?
Okay, the
Same
reality of it is,
mentality.
Most people don't.
most people die and are born within a 50-mile radius.
Yeah.
That's it. That-
And never leave the country that they were born in.
yes.
Some never even leave the state.
I was
Right.
talking
His
Unless they're close to
his
the border.
number was off. The number is 5.
5 miles.
Yeah.
5-mile radius.
Most people die within 5 miles of where they were born.
Look, I was talking to his father, and his father, who, how old is your dad?
Sean.
65 plus.
I'd love
has
to
a
meet your
friend-
dad, Kipp.
Has a friend.
I said I'd love to meet your dad.
Has a friend who's the same
I'm sure
age.
you have.
Who he said to me,
No.
who never came down, who's never been downtown. He's lived in Chicago for 60-something years, never been downtown. Now, that's just as a frame of reference. When he was a child, the downtown area was not a place for black men, black people in general, and especially after dark, right? You imagine it now, it's one thing, but back in the day, it was a whole, it was
crime. Yeah,
not
he
the
down
place
there to
you
do
wanted to be.
to rob somebody. Yeah.
No, you most likely were down there to work. Like that's the fallacy, right? That black people are leaving their neighborhoods to rob people, and they have been for centuries. But we know that's not true, right? That's not where the robberies are happening. They're
Most
happening
people-
in their own neighborhood.
Most people commit crimes against people that look like them because they don't leave their own neighborhood.
Why would I if I fucking live in Harvey? Or I'm sorry, Harvey. Let's say I live in Harvey. Why would I go to Skokie to try to rob somebody? You know what I'm saying? Like that seemed like such a risk, right? It seems like such a risk. Like so far, I gotta drive.
Some
to
do.
the car there.
Some do, but not.
Oh
not
no.
most. Not,
We're not talking about
anything
what
close
some
to
do.
most, yeah.
What we're talking about is what most people do. So, but this image is, they're gonna come down here, they're gonna rob us. Well, the reality is, most people that was downtown Chicago, and it was black, and especially it was late at night, they had a job, but it was dangerous. It was dangerous for them. If you read the story by Richard Wright, I always get this mixed up. If it was Black Boy, if it was the one with Bigger Thomas was the main character. But
That was,
he essentially killed
Pops.
Native Son.
Native Son.
He essentially killed. Well, not essentially. He killed the girl.
Yeah, he had to do that shit though.
Yeah,
He did the right thing.
He did the right thing. You know what I'm saying? Unfortunately, you know what I'm saying? Otherwise, he would have been killed. Now, ultimately, he ended up getting caught.
Right.
But that was a fucking tragic story.
Yeah, it changed my life, bro. I'm glad I read that book. Otherwise, I would have been him.
Yeah, you could have been.
Could have been.
Yep, very well.
So back to George Floyd, right?
Well, I don't think we talked about George Floyd. This is the start.
Yeah, we just mentioned him. I mentioned him a couple times. So George Floyd was, by all accounts, accused of fraud, and some say, and I think it's the official record, that it was over a $20 bill. So basically, they stamped his life out over $20, even though the bill was a real bill.
Man, you know what the harsh reality of the situation is that even if he had been found to be counterfeiting billions with a B, if he had been found to literally been printing billions of dollars, he would not have been subject to the death penalty.
Especially not on the spot like that.
No, it wouldn't have mattered. Spot 20 years, 50 years.
But
he would. It wasn't a death penalty. It wasn't a capital crime.
Right.
It was.
Right.
It was even if he had.
Unless it was treason.
No. There are capital crimes. Murder is a
Right.
capital crime. Treason is a capital. No, what I'm saying is the crime he committed. Even if you take it to the fullest possible extent
of the law.
it still wasn't a capital fucking offense.
Not
which
at all.
means that we literally have Judge Dreds out there who are I am the law.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And you have to question their intentions, right? Why would you sign up for this? You know who I question the intentions? I question the intentions of priests. I question the intentions of Boy Scout leaders.
Yep.
You know why? Because
Anybody-
it attracts only two type of people: pedophiles and people who really want to help. And the fucked up things.
And awesome motherfuckers.
Yeah, awesome people who
The worst and the
genuinely
best.
want to help, and that's the fucked up part. They are in the exact same group as the motherfucker who trying to hide.
The worst and the best.
The worst and the best. That's the only thing. It's such a sacrifice. The only people who are willing to make it are people who are getting something in return. The people who are just truly altruistic, and the people who like, I'm gonna earn mine back.
Well, basically, anybody like to be around kids a lot, that's they suspect.
You have to suspect them,
Right.
but it doesn't necessarily mean that in actuality they're suspect. They are suspect. You have to suspect them now anyway, more so than ever. But in reality, yeah, because in my mind they one or the other. But unfortunately, if you had to ask me what percentage of priests
I'm about to roll, bro.
were into this shit, you have to say the vast majority. Because you know who I also include? I also include the priests who knew. The priests who knew.
All of them
who
knew.
weren't doing it, but who knew.
All of them
and
knew.
didn't take action. Yeah, I also include them. A
talking about the
complicit motherfucking child molester. Oops, plural.
The dude who didn't let them marry.
Well, that's an old thing. But you know what?
The dude who didn't let them marry because they wanted all the property to flow back to the church when they died is the culprit. And the
No.
guys who know that this kind of life attracts people who don't have any inclination to get married
Or maybe they do.
and are afraid of God.
Either they're making the sacrifice. But you know what? South Park, the episode that they did on pedophilia on South Park was one of the most awesome and hilarious and sad episodes. The premise of the show, the basis of the show was that there was no rules against molesting young boys. And the only priest that had a problem with this was a priest from Colorado, the kids priest. He was like, wait, what? And they were like, what? There's no rules against this. He's like, wait, what? Wait, first off, why does it matter that they're not? And then they had the alien with the Gilgamechian. Have you ever seen the Gilgamechian vagina?
Hey,
It has
hey,
large
guys.
teeth.
Hey guys, I got to do a wrap up, man. We've been recording for 3 hours.
3
hours,
hours.
14 minutes, and 25 seconds.
All right. We've just been talking, actually.
I just want to say, man, I just want to thank you gentlemen for being on the show. We need to do a part 2. Even though we hit every subject,
Part 2.
we could have curated 50 topics and still not been able to cover them. We could have curated one topic and not be able to finish covering it, right? But you know, that's when you've been around guys, awesome guys like this for this long, this many years, you know, we get off on a subject and we just can keep going. I want to thank you all personally. Kipp, thank you for coming out.
Thanks for having me.
David, thank you, bro, for being on the show.
Appreciate it, man.
Brother Bruce, man, thank you for being on the show. I got my work to do in the editing process, man. And look, it's going to be more conversations to be had. People got things they need to do. And I thank y'all. Thank everybody for watching. And Fully Loaded Podcast. We got the new platform we just launched, Black Commercials. And we are running
awesome
advertisements for black businesses, black-owned businesses, black-owned organizations, black-owned artists and music creators, and just to support our own. You know, we're not racist, but it's only for our faces. You know, that would be the motto, but it's a little bit out there. And Carlos came up with that. But once again, thank you all for being on. We're gonna play some music on the way out, and
Playing the song.
we're gonna play Rainy Red, Balance, our new single that's just dropped, and we already shot the video for it. We'll be releasing that soon. Tune in to blackcommercials.com. We're launching the website soon. Right now we're streaming through Twitch TV. Everybody that's watching, I want to support you. All my brothers, I want to support y'all. Let's just be behind each other and be that support and be the change in the world that we want to see. Peace.
Peace.
Beast slamming hop keto, freedom fighter, no Negro. Got control of my ego, stay winning, no cheat code. 14 and I acted, body clean, I just fasted. Melanated, I'm classic. Black girl, magic, ayy, balance. My art, balance. My art, my art, balance. My art, balance. My art, my art, my art, balance. Kinda fox in my think tank, watch moves that we make. My team is world class, no half step, don't cheapskate. Hammers with power than swords, shoot up the rage and I'm bored. I'm reading Huey P. Marcus and Malcolm, focus like welcome award. Ayy, balance, my art, balance, my art, my art, balance, my art, balance, my art, my art, my art, balance. Ayy, believe in myself, Pan-African roots, we need the means produced. Breaking the shackles of capitalism to read with the system anew. Reroute my network, 100, no lesser. Straight shot, no guesswork. Stress, do my best work. Balance, my art, balance, my art, my art, balance, my art, balance, my art, my art, my art, my art.